Okay, penultimate session. Renewable energy is the key to fighting climate change. AWP can help make it really happen, a reality. So, Luigi and David, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, very kind of you. Okay, so Dave is with me, and let's see how this plastic is gonna go. Here we go. So today we're gonna talk about AWP, how AWP can be also implemented into green project, green chemistry, renewable project, the new frontier that we said widely during yesterday and today is the new frontier for the project, for the planet, for ourselves, for everybody. So let's see how AWP can be a tool to deliver this kind of project. So, agenda today is AWP journey in Tecnimont. AWP is an enabler for the green project to go green by any means, how AWP can be implemented, and one example, a study that we have done and proven good for the AWP for green chemistry, a project, a very tiny one. So we also now bring in the concept that AWP is scalable. Nowadays, technologies, the knowledge made AWP now really scalable for any kind of project. And then we're going to have Dave with shell presentation about sustainability and decarbonization. Okay, me and David. I am head of construction, methodology, innovation, and David, please.
Yes, principal technical expert for modularization.
Okay. So, AWP to go green. This is Myre Tecnimont. It's a technological company, construction EPC contractor. We move from hydrocarbons to green energy. So, you can see 7 companies, sister companies: Tecnimont, KT, Stabicarbon, Med Development, NextChem, Neosia Renewables, MST. So from traditional energy project to green project, green energy. So from gas monetization and transition fuel to energy transition. This is Myre Tecnimont. We have 50 operating companies, and we work in 45 countries, and more than 1,500 delivered projects. So you can see for each sector how we move it from hydrocarbons to green energy. Petrochemicals, we move it from traditional plant into green plant. Plastic recycling, chemical recycling, green ammonia, renewables, HVO, that we will see today, and renewable energy. So we have more than 1,800 patents, and we invested in last year 56 million in innovation, among green innovation, construction innovation, digitalization, and this is Myre Tecnimont. So our journey toward AWP, we moved from traditional way. This morning, probably Jeff said, we moved from Excel-based data into structural system. That is the fundamental for AWP data. Of course, we went through methodologies, we went digital. AWP is just the tip of the iceberg of the digital conversion of construction in Myre Tecnimont. We do not have cabinet database, silos. We are moving in SharePoint, that is a technological platform. So this is our journey. So we went first through process. This is very important. We analyzed the process, how we worked, how we should work. We filled the gap. We removed any low added value step. Then we went to the people. Say, okay, now we have to change, because the biggest effort was in changing the mindset. From top management, top management said, okay, fair enough, let's make a change. But the mid-level management was the hardest part of the journey. very, very tough. Then we went to select the tools, the technology available. And then we put together a governance system to monitor how good we are, and we will be in adopting and using properly all the changes. So AWP from deliverables to installation work package. Antonio is with me, and we are working together. And this is our roadmap, very lean and fast. In Renewable project, we have to talk about lean and fast. We were saying during the leadership forum on Monday, we have to be lean because the margin on Renewable projects are very, very, very tiny, very, very small. We have to be fast because this project cannot last like a refinery. One Renewable project shall be done in less than 18 months sometime. So that is the point. So we structured our way of doing our process in the WP from the data. We introduced a position into the project called a Plant Information Management Coordinator, making sure that the data are properly generated, properly coded, so they can flow through the system. Now, we have not arrived yet at the perfect world, because perfect world does not exist. But at least we removed a lot of Excel files. Then we introduced, of course, the AWP champion and the work phase engineer. Together with project control and our construction subcontractor, we are implementing AWP through the installation work package. Very, very lean structure, lean process, arriving to effective installation work package. We do produce installation work packages for the subcontractor because we found in a European market, in a market where we operate, that AWP is not really known. When we start talking about AWP, even in Europe, they saw us like we were coming from another planet. Believe me. So we decided to produce the installation work package, working together with the construction subcontractor and guiding them in using them. It was not that easy. It's not easy yet, but we are now cranking up. Our subcontractors now are more and more familiar. Subcontractor will continue to be awarded with the subcontractor will continue to be awarded with subcontracts in Mare Tecnimont, so they are getting familiar. So we, as I say, we started rolling the stone. Once the stone starts rolling, very difficult to stop it. And this is the adoption in Mare Tecnimont. We have 15 projects. We started in 2019. So I admit, we are newcomers into AWP club. We are very, very newcomers, and just by chance, we knew about AWP. We were not aware of before 2018. We were not aware of. Our client shown us AWP. I have to be honest with you, we were somehow skeptical about the AWP. The first thing was, it doesn't work. Do you think that is something that shall be useful for us? That was our first impression. But then when we went through, me, Antonio, we found a huge potential down there. Time ago, we were used to have job cards. In AWP, we found that concept, but much better elaborated, at least with a proper structure, a proper methodology. So we started convincing the management to use AWP. Convincing project manager, project director was really, really hard. But eventually, we got the result. These are all the projects in Mare Tecnimont adopting AWP. And all projects are now ready to be AWP. So there is no, AWP became a procedure, a standard in Mare Tecnimont, period. So AWP enabled to go green. So we have to remove the gas emission, reducing the waste. So This is something that we have to do. And waste is the first focus that we have to take into consideration. And waste is in all our actions. Any human activity produces waste. You can imagine in a job site, waste. So we went through all the processes. We found out all the possible waste that can be removed. One of them, going digital, you can imagine in a project of 800 million sites, $800 million size, produces something like 1,500,000 pages. Documents, certification, checklist, punch list, certificates, and schedule, and blah, 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 blah. So just for QC, quality control, we produce 1.5 million pages, minimum. So we removed them. If we improve, without if, improving productivity in a project of 10 million direct work hours by 10%, we reduce at least 1 million direct work hours. 1 million direct work hours means thousands of tons of CO2 removed. Commuting people, logistic, the canteen, the offices, the equipment, construction equipment, altogether make something like we counted more than 2,000 tons of CO2 in a job site, in a single job site. So the common perception shall be dispelled also. We thought, by AWP is just for oil and gas, giant project in North America only. It's not true. You saw where we adopt AWP in all the geography and all type of projects. So AWP is an already hand tool to change the way we execute the project. And again, it was said this morning several times, AWP is not a construction tool, is not a construction toy. It's a project management methodology implemented through project management tools. End of the story. So, with AWP, we have seen in many ways during these 2 days that we can gain productivity, therefore efficiency. More efficiency means less waste again. And therefore, efficiency also goes through the entire project life cycle, EPC, engineering, because we have a better planning, logistic, in procurement, and therefore in construction. So AWP has reached a maturity that can be transferred to any kind of project. At the end of the day, we have to deliver a project. No matter whether it is a solar field or a refinery or petrochemical complex, doesn't matter. We are building a capital project. So in one side we have solar panels, on the other side we have pumps, exchanger, and so on. But at the end of the day, we are building a capital project. And any capital project requires construction. Therefore, in procurement and engineering. And again, we can use AWP. So now the time has arrived. And we fairly believe, we are convinced that can be also adopted by the green, in the green sector. So I will show you an example, a study made for a green project developed by our sister company NESCAM. NESCAM is a company of Maire Tecnimont, which mission is developing projects in green chemistry, conversion of existing plant and using and producing biofuels or green ammonia. So, AWP for renewable project. We say that we can use in solar fields. We have started a study how to implement AWP in a solar field in South America, wind farms, geothermal plants as well, hydrogen, and green chemistry. We have to add also now the blue ammonia, the blue ammonia plant which we are going to build soon. We're going to deliver soon in North America. So, AWP for green chemistry. So we move from, we can have green, so a plant, a project that creates green fuels from green feedstock, circular economy, plastic waste upcycling, waste to fuels, waste to chemical, or greening the brown. So renewable energy from chemical effluents, carbon capture. These are the fields where we can and we will implement AWP, because at the end of the day are all capital projects. Example of AWP for green chemistry. This is a small HVO. So this is a renewable diesel, hydrogenated vegetable oils from fats, oil, and greased waste. So we can get biodiesel. So the biodiesel has the same characteristic and properties of a normal diesel from fossil feedstock, and meets all the STM specification. So this is a small scale HVO solution. So again, this is an example where we can adopt AWP for a small scale project. So AWP is scalable. We call it a pocket-sized green project. It's very, very tiny. This morning, we were talking about IKEA solution. This is one of the cases. So AWP can be also implemented for cereal plant. This is a typical one. This is a plant that can be built by a farmer in the US with a feedstock from corn, for example. So we adopted a standard modular approach, exactly like IKEA, exactly. So simplicity over standard size, like buying, I'm not just or canceling the value of the study, but the concept is like buying a kitchen, modular basis, sizes, you bring the furniture by size, exactly the same. Short delivery time to market, so we can also standardize the fabrication and the delivery of the components, minimize erection work at site, and improve the site execution. Very, very simple, because this kind of plant shall be erected not by a very sophisticated construction contractor, but somebody that can be available in the local market, sometime in a very, very remote area, where mobilization of a giant subcontractor is going to cost a fortune and will be affordable for the project. So this is the type of site, very, very simple. This work with 1.75 metric tons here, corn ethanol plant in Garner, Kansas, uses DCO from located mill. And this started up in 2016 and produces HVO with very high quality since the startup. So you may ask, okay, what about AWP? So we did the reverse engineering, we did the study, and we are fairly convinced that any new plant of this kind in Europe or in the US or wherever it is going to be in the world can be, first of all, standardized, then fabricated off-site, shipped in pieces with the instruction like IKEA furnitures. And the instruction are the installation work packages, is AWP. So any owner would like to have this kind of plant will have the instruction through the AWP, so can bid properly the construction contractor. Construction contractor knows exactly the sequences, the work that has to be done, and can quote properly and get the execution of this kind of project really competitive. So it's not only looking at the execution of the project, but looking at the entire life cycle of the project itself. So this is an example. This is one unit. We immediately cut down the the project in two sections, HVO and pretreatment. We select the construction work area, the module ID, the construction work package, arriving to the installation work packages. We prepare installation work packages ready and going along with the supply of the modules and the material, so that they can be exactly like IKEA-style project. Very, very simple. And Antonio can confirm that doing this study didn't take that much, because we started from the 3D model, we started from information available. We put some idea, the mind, we prepare the sequences, and we prepare the AWP installation work packages. We prepare up front all the deliverables in engineering and procurement packages, and we've done it. It didn't take so much time, it didn't take so much resources. This because the technology available today are such that we can implement AWP fairly easy. And is not an additional cost, as a project manager may see very, very often. It has a very huge return of investment here, because may attract any kind of owner, even a simple farmer. So, what to do? First of all, removing all our ideas of AWP. Typical in Europe, and that is, Stuart can confirm, or John, people, they think here in Europe, but this is for the North American market. In Europe, we have a peculiarity. Our market is different. We don't work time and material. We work on lump sum turnkey basis. It's different. We don't work by exactly time and material. We work on a unit rate. An EPC contractor has the full responsibility for delivering the project from the award till the startup. Differently is in the US, where the designer is responsible for E&P. Then somebody else will take care about construction. In Europe it's different. So the client owners are not really interested in implementing AWP, because they move the risk on the shoulder of the EPC contractor. But the risk is like a monkey. He may jump from one shoulder to another shoulder, but then it comes back to the first shoulder. So we are here as ECI or AWP community of practice in Europe to make an understanding the client, the owner, of the importance of having this kind of methodology. I was saying this morning, in the 70s, in the 80s, nobody was thinking about delivering the project by system and subsystem. From Norway, we got this sensational way of doing it. Now, there is no owner in this world that will accept a plant in one go, because they want by system and subsystem. So that methodology became a standard, became a practice across the EPC industry. Same we have to do with AWP in Europe. It has to become a standard. But then we need the help of the owners. So we have to remove of this kind of thinking, and we have to go in a pragmatic way, adopting AWP for any kind of project, any kind of capital project. We have to use the latest available technology, and AWP is scalable, maximizing the return of investment. The proof is that in Myra Technimont, all projects are AWP ready. The first question that now is asked to the project manager is engineering say, look, this project is going to be AWP, the system already settled. And again, we are not so perfect that we have all the data. Data still is an issue and a headache and a sort of confrontation between construction and engineering. But anyway, we are on the right way, on the right pattern. Last but not least is that the methodology can and shall be spread across the market culture. So we have proven that we are using AWP even in India, where the labor is not a problem. But again, labor is a problem because labor in India means no skilled labor. You may have 1,300,000,000 people there. You cannot dump all of them in a project. You don't get it project done. You need guidance. And we found it sweet, really helpful also in India, in a project where the labor cost is very, very low. But also the productivity is very, very low. Women on the job site with a basket carry on the soil, the excavated soil, still. So this is all about. I leave the floor to David. Please.
Thank you. Set up here. Okay. Move the slides on. Good afternoon, everyone. I'll introduce myself properly. Spoken to you many times now, but still haven't got to introduce myself properly. For those of you who weren't at the conference yesterday as well, my name is David Kerr, and I'm Shell's Principal Technical Expert for Modularization within our project's global discipline. My background, I'm a mechanical engineer by degree. I have 20 years in the industry, 18 of which with EPC contractors, 7 of which trying to figure out, understand, promote, deploy AWP. Firstly, thanks to Luigi for his presentation and his thoughts on AWP and its applicability to renewables projects. I'd also like to extend my thanks to the other speakers here yesterday and today. I almost wish I had seen that before I wrote this. You can have some insights and put this presentation together, but hopefully, and I'm sure we will, we can have a good discussion and Q&A with the newfound knowledge that we have. So I'd like to follow now with a short presentation. Some big ideas in there, not a lot in the way of answers, but I say we can have a discussion about it afterwards. So an owner perspective on AWP and renewables and energy solutions projects, or RES as we like to call it, just so we don't have to deal with that mouthful. I need to advance the slides. Well, once again, our standard disclaimer slide, don't make any investment decisions based on my presentation. My crystal ball doesn't work any better than Jay's. Our agenda for today, a quick overview. I'd like to highlight powering progress as a background to the importance and growth of RES projects, and very much ties into what we heard from this morning. Next, I'll talk about what we see as different in the execution of RES projects and AWP deployment. And lastly, while we're thinking about the subject of project and construction productivity, efficiency on RES projects, I'd like to tie things back to Jeff's presentation this morning and pivot slightly to cover sustainability in construction execution and construction sector decarbonisation. So, powering progress sets out Shell's strategy to accelerate the transition of our business to net zero emissions, designed to create value for shareholders, customers, and society. Jay's already covered this a couple of times now, so I won't spend too long here. But we've got 4 main goals: the generating shareholder value, powering lives through products and activities, respecting nature, and including protecting the environment and reducing waste, and achieving net zero emissions, the big one, working with our customers across the sectors to accelerate that transition in step with society. What this means is transforming our business to find new opportunities and projects in low carbon energy, including wind, solar power, biofuels and hydrogen, as well as carbon capture, utilization and storage. So there's a couple of examples there in the pictures. The following graphic, hopefully you can see it quite well, provides a snapshot of our current RES projects and portfolio. As you can see, this covers a range of things from wind, solar, biofuels, hydrogen, CCUS, but as well as that, we've got mobility, energy access, energy solutions, nature-based solutions, and it highlights the growing global reach of our projects and the depths in regions such as Europe, North America, Australia. And with an important and growing portfolio, the unique challenges of successfully delivering RES projects are high on the agenda of the Shell project community. When we take a closer look at our RES projects, we see unique aspects and differentiators from previous projects. We see expanding owner peer groups, new players in the market, new owner joint ventures, as well as new regulation and standards, new ways of working, partnerships to be established, relationships to be developed. We see accelerated project life cycles. We heard it this morning, opportunities must more rapidly progress from identification through to final investment decision and execution, and it requires the execution and the contracting strategies to support. The technology development is fast moving. Again, we heard it earlier. The design and engineering has to be agile to keep pace. We've got to incorporate significant design input from technology and equipment suppliers. A lot of the knowledge is stored there, and whilst at the same time continuing to deliver for procurement, fabrication, and construction through AWP. Contracting and procurement and supply chains are more integrated with large portions of design and supply. You can imagine the wind turbine. That's a major aspect of the project, and that's all coming from one place, and it's a design and supply type arrangement. So you can see how that comes into play. Especially true of wind and solar as well. Differentiated materials of construction and equipment from our more home, traditional, if you like. We've all grown up in process plants, and we're facing more towards power, utilities, and infrastructure sector in our outlook. With differentiated materials and equipment come differentiated requirements for logistics, fabrication, and laydown. You can imagine the solar farms and wind turbines getting fabricated somewhere. Those turbine blades are massive. They take up a whole lot of space, which we have to try and find somewhere. We have to look at the different requirements for logistics, fabrication, and laydown, construction and installation equipment, offshore and onshore, near shore, all within the one project. And commissioning startup changes as well. More rapid times for inspection and completion and commissioning, and requirements for phase startup and operation of the assets. All of these differentiators represent opportunities for us to more efficiently and effectively deliver RES projects, including through the timely application of AWP. And it very much is timely when projects move as rapidly as they will in this sector. What can we say about our experiences so far and how they relate to AWP deployment? I think as Luigi put it across very well, the main point is, as you might expect then, is that the methodology remains the same, and that getting the fundamentals right is absolutely critical. What we do need to recognize is that AWP deployment needs to be scaled in terms of size and scope to address the differentiators that we discussed on the last slide. For example, in packages, they may be relatively simple, and they can be highly standardized and repeatable, both within the project, but across multiple projects, and that creates itself an opportunity for refinement and improvement as we go through a portfolio. Owners need to be brought up to speed with AWP methodology and processes to ensure requirements are captured in the execution of contracting strategies. So if you imagine power, utilities, infrastructure companies, they need to get on board with AWP as well, because they're part of that owner group. The responsibility for our work packages, the inputs, the deliverables, planning and scheduling, resources, constraints management across these new supply chains needs to be communicated and defined. With these differentiated supply chains comes new strategies and enablers for collaborative contracting and transparency in how AWP deployment happens for overall project productivity and efficiency. With more emphasis on design and technology, the application of AWP must extend deeper into the supply chain, with technology and equipment suppliers forming an integral part of the execution plan. leading also to differentiated data and data flow from the point of creation, the use through the project, and the final handover, completion and handover to the operating asset. And we have to assess the differing levels of AWP maturity within organizations and projects as we move forward, identifying where perhaps maturity lacks, providing the right training to the right people, to the right standard, to get that alignment in place. And finally, as I said, we need to take advantage of those opportunities that differentiated RES projects present. You know, instead of a transition from an oil and gas where they used to do it this way and now we want to do it that way, we have an emerging sector, a growing sector where we aren't burdened by the previous ways of working and having to convince people. We have the opportunity to start on exactly the right footing, build on our previous experience, and deliver better RES projects. So, in discussing net zero, RES projects, their execution, this all provides us with an opportunity to further explore sustainability in construction execution and specifically emissions reduction. As each organisation focuses on their own net zero ambitions and collaborates with their customers, partners and supply chain, in construction we have the opportunity to analyse our own sector and our own construction activities and our position in the value chain from the raw material through the manufacturing, through the construction and into the operating asset. We have choices to make about materials of construction, design for fabrication and construction, our project and construction execution strategies and plans. And in making those choices, we affect the sustainability and the emissions associated with our construction activities. And really, we can make a difference in our own work as well as creating the projects that's going to power the transition that we need. What we can see is that and again, Luigi touched on this, what we can see is the application of AWP and the need for emissions reduction go hand in hand when you view it from the perspective of eliminating waste in all its forms and driving towards the most productive and efficient projects possible. Sustainability and emissions reduction provides another lens and an extra impetus perhaps we need for our leadership and those which are not completely on board. And a chance to leverage design, technology, processes, capabilities of people to do even more with less. Our activities ultimately consume resources of all kinds as well as generating waste. And the result is that through analysing our own construction activities, we can place a focus on those that require to be fueled and powered and make more informed choices as to how that can happen. RES projects in themselves and the application of AWP and other project delivery strategies and principles accelerate the transition to cleaner energy. Okay, so as we all understand, construction is going to play a vital role in all this, in delivering the projects which will enable the energy transition. But then, as we've discussed here, as a sector, we're also under pressure to decarbonise our own construction activities. So following my previous slide and then to complete the circle, I just want to take a few minutes to talk about Shell partnering with the construction contractors, and EPCs, many of whom are here today and online hopefully as well, as our customers as we attempt to decarbonise the construction sector. As you can see, construction and roads is one of a number of sectors Shell is targeting, and we're seeking support from the construction industry to decarbonise across the construction value chain. So what does this mean for construction and a net zero pathway? So we're looking at solutions such as low carbon fuels and renewable energy efficiency solutions and carbon monitoring and management, low carbon construction materials such as steel and cement, and finally other environmental products like carbon credits and carbon capture and storage at a scale that's suitable for construction projects. We've seen the recent estimates of how the construction industry accounts for 25% of global equivalent CO2 emissions. And it also needs to be one of the fastest growing sectors to hit all those CapEx numbers. But at the same time, facing increasing pressure itself to decarbonise. It's up to us as an industry to understand this challenge, our place in the value chain, the solutions available, and to think more broadly about emissions reduction, whilst at the same time continuing to deliver the competitive projects that we need to make the transition viable. Another lever in our sector and its decarbonisation is the circular economy. So we've got to make more informed choices about our material selection, not just in the embodied carbon that's within it, but also, is it permanent, is it temporary, is it consumable, the preservation and the packaging. We've got to minimise the waste, maximise the reuse, all in a way that doesn't compromise end quality. And in all this, we see that the collaboration that we need across the sector will be vital, including between Shell and its construction partners and contractors, both as contractors and as customers. So then, to conclude, we see massive importance of RES projects in the energy transition and the need to understand the differentiators on RES projects across the execution and the supply chain. We see that those differentiators provide opportunities where AWP and other practices can be used and continuously improved and maximised to take full advantage of those opportunities. In discussing RES projects, we have an opportunity to think more deeply about sustainability and emissions reduction in the construction execution of our projects, and to better understand that decarbonisation will be powered by and for construction, and that it will require action by all of us. So lastly then, to convey that Shell's Construction and Road Sector Organisation, which is supported by myself and our projects organisation, is ready to work across the industry towards net zero. Thank you very much for your time, and perhaps we can have a nice discussion now, some Q&A. Yeah.
Do they create their own? What's your role versus contractor role, AWP wise? Oh, here we go. Hello. So, yes, as I said before, we are working with a subcontractor that do not have any knowledge at all about AWP. They can barely draw some bars into so-called level 3 schedule. This is the reality. Working in some environments or some markets, talking about AWP is like talking or coming from another planet, literally. But we found that AWP was the way to get out from the mud on those projects. So what we did, we took the decision, it was me and Antonio sitting there, was our decision to say, no matter what the company says, what the project manager says, we have to push and convince everybody that we have to do the we have to prepare and issue the installation work packages for the subcontractor. So we do for them. We sit down, if they are capable, they sit down with us, they sketch the envelope of installation work package, and we draw, and we take their hands to prepare a level 4 schedule, scheduling each installation work packages. Most of the time, we get 0 result, which is not okay, it's 0. So we guide the execution of the project, we prepare the work phase for them, we call work fronts available, and we guide their workforce through the installation work package that we issue. So we show them the work fronts available, we show them how to prepare the work phase. We are educating them to abandon any type of table, because our subcontractors were used to come in the weekly meeting with the table, Excel spreadsheet. These are the dia inch, these are the cubic meter that can be feasible, I can cast. And if anyone comes to me with an Excel file with the table, I will dismantle that table in 15 minutes. 15 minutes. Instead, if I go in front of the subcontractor with a snapshot of the work front from installation work package depicted from the 3D model with drawings and material available piece by piece, no one can say something different from what I'm saying. And that was the way, the successful way to drive literally the subcontractor. The reverse side of the coin is that we removed any possibility to raise any possible claim because we have provided them the work front. So they cannot come with the letters saying, hey, I cannot work my idle time. Because we have studied in very well in advance all the work front for them, we planned and we are guiding them. So yes, we are issuing. I don't know if I answered. Yes, please, John.
I think we've got a question for David. Regarding Shell, do you mandate AWP into feed and EPC contracts, is one question. And the second part to that is, what level of detail do you prescribe in terms of process, people, etc.?
Yes, we do mandate. AWP is a best practice for Shell, so we expect our contracting partners to use it. Level of detail in terms of process, people, technology, and data. We have, as I say, we have a best practice. We have our standards. Jay presented on that yesterday. We know what we want, but I think we have to build a relationship with the contractor and understand what they're capable of and what we want for that particular project. So I don't think it's here's one size fits all. It's very much, here's the project, this is our execution, this is our capability, and let's make it right for that project.
Maybe elaborate just a little bit on that. So we don't use the word mandate, but shall. So you say you shall implement AWP, right?
Very polite.
And the other thing, I guess, in terms of the detail that Dave was referring to on process technology and people, if it's a lump sum type of an ITT or invitation to tender, then we would, sorry, I'm talking loud enough, I thought, but we would prescribe that we want, for instance, to utilize the contractor to use 3D modeling and 4D modeling on top of that with schedule tied to the 3D. We wouldn't tell them what model or type of technology to use for that. We'd say, if you want an example, we have a few for you, and we have also some alternatives that we use. So we would give those options to the contractors, but we won't prescribe the tool. The process and the tools, well, the process is fixed, but the tools should be agnostic. Okay? If the data sits in the right place and is available, then it doesn't matter which tool you use. So we typically don't prescribe the tools and technology. We just prescribe that you will provide the data to us, we'll provide the data to you, this is what the data should contain, and we'll give you examples of everything you want with respect to managing AWP if you like it.
Don't sit down, David. There's another one. So for decarbonisation, how does Shell manage and monitor Scope 3 emissions?
That is a huge question which I'm not qualified to answer. What we can talk about, though, is projects. So project Scope 3 emissions. So I think this is a subject which we're going to get into more and more. Certainly, we want to get to a point where we understand what our Scope 3 emissions on projects are, and then begin to monitor and manage as we move forward. Scope 3 emissions for the entire of Shell is not in my area of control.
Yeah. It's actually not a Shell. It's not a mandating a remit yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, Scope 1 and 2 are definitely in our the strategy that David showed you there, for sure. But yes, the Scope 3 not yet has been mandated, although, as you say, the importance of understanding what it is, how much it is, and how we got to stay ahead of it, right?
So what I would say is that we are, through our sectors and decarbonisation organisation, including construction and roads, we're working with the sectors to decarbonise. which would include our customer scope 3, our scope 3. So it's everyone together that will find the solutions.
I think there's one for you, Luigi, which is about who's taking the risk and responsibility. If the EPC contractor develops IWPs, how do construction contractors take responsibility for this work?
And this question highlights the difference between the European market and the North American market. The owners in Europe or in the rest of the world, they award an EPC lump sum turnkey contract. So they are not asking for AWP or lean at all. Everything is on the shoulder of the EPC contractor. So our owners, our client, they are not indicating any requirement about lean and AWP. So it was our own decision to adopt AWP and now progressively into lean. And we are dumping these requirements into the subcontracts, construction subcontracts. So the subcontractor shall execute the work according to AWP methodology, prepare the schedules according to AWP, prepare the work phase according to AWP. So we dump these requirements into the subcontract that most of the time are unit rate based, but nevertheless the responsibility of the subcontractor still is to build up the plant. How? Through AWP. Simple as that.
Okay. And turning to lean, how do you in Technimont use lean in implementing AWP as far as your customers are concerned?
Well, again, I said our customer really they are not yet educated to the lean. We are working in an environment, in local market where lean is not yet a requirement, I can tell you what. So we worked in Russia, we worked in ex-Russian Republic, we are working in the Gulf area, so there is no requirement. We are introducing now the lean concept through AWP, so that is the concept. It's very, very different. European and other markets are really, really different from the North American market.
So I'll just take the opportunity to plug the AWP plus Lean joint working group that we've got going and the good work that's being produced. We're coming at the same problem from different places, and the more you look at it, the more you realize that the terminology is different, but the drive is the same. And if you were in the ConstructX breakout session yesterday, or if you need to catch up on it online, I suggest you watch that for more details on that.
Okay. Well, there's another one for you, David. As an owner, should we mandate AWP if the fabricator is not familiar and not willing to use it, especially if EPC is split from fabrication contract?
I would say that in the spirit of collaboration and relationship building, we should be working with our fabricators to help them implement AWP, knowing that it is best practice.
Yeah, there's a learning curve to go through, isn't there, for the players? Have you, I think this is for you, Luigi, have you considered AWP within modularization yards?
We consider AWP for modularization as well. One example was the one that I shown right now in the presentation. Of course we do.
Yeah, already running. But I think the fabrication yard is not the site.
Yep.
So there's some unique challenges there, and there's always room for improvement.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Another one for you, Luigi. In Technimont, how about the data model? Is it the same for lean and large projects when utilising AWP?
It is. It is exactly the same, because at the end of the day, foundation plan or foundation drawing is the same deliverables for any kind of project.
Yeah.
It goes into it is produced by the engineering proprietary system, dumped into the document control system, and that is an information that no matter whether it is for a solar project or for a refinery, still is a document, and the document goes into the installation engineering work packages. Same of any piece of the project that should be purchased. So the database, the repository of information we call AWP system is exactly the same. The difference is just the volume of data.
And with reference to your IWPs, do you issue these from home office or at site?
We develop the construction work package at the home office, and of course, prior the opening of the site, we start releasing installation work packages, and then the AWP people will move to site, and of course, will be released at site.
I think to pick up on that, if we're looking at RES projects in particular and the level of standardization and replication that's possible, then why can't we seek to standardize construction work packages, installation work packages also? So I think, there's the standardization and replication of what's physically installed, the scope, but there's also the additional benefit and opportunity to standardize and replicate the project execution process.
I think for both of you, there's a question here about, for steel and concrete, are you looking to drive lower carbon just through green fuels? Or are you adopting alternatives like fiber reinforced concrete, etc.?
Yes, we are doing it. Now we are starting introducing new materials for the civil works, especially for paving, such as this one. We have started, and yes, we are reducing the carbon footprint also using material that...
have you any thoughts on that, David?
Yeah. So, not just through green fuels, no. So, within sectors in decarbonisation, we have a sector organisation which points towards heavy industry and decarbonising steel and concrete production, or cement production, I should say. So that's one side of it. I think the more we get into it and the technology matures, more and more kinds of fibre reinforced or carbon capturing concrete or low carbon concrete, as long as it meets the technical standards, then yes, we'll start to use it in the frame of competitive projects, yes.
Good. Have you got something, Jay?
No, we're doing it, yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's Jeff's baby. I mean, when he was working for Shell, he introduced the elements of a future of construction, we call it, I guess, internally. But obviously, with him retiring and transitions, et cetera, we still have these things. We have a whole list of future of constructions items, and a lot of them do help us in terms of reducing carbon, but also there are a lot that will help the process of construction and productivity in general. So,
thanks. Luigi, again, another one on IWP system. Do you share this with your construction contractors, or do you hand them a printed IWP?
Most of the time we deliver directly and we transmit officially the work fronts available through printed installation work packages. There are also times where we have the subcontractor sitting together with us and defining the boundaries of the installation work package together. But again, we are facing markets where the subcontractors are not so skilled, really. And that is the reality of this world.
So that's a training and exposure process that's going to take a bit of time, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. What about, this is one for you, David, do low carbon materials increase the costs to the facility?
Which material? That's a case-by-case basis, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think that's a question around cost and value. Our projects have to remain competitive, and that includes cost-wise, in order to be sanctioned and go ahead. So I think that is something that's always analysed and is taken on a case-by-case basis. But it's one of those things. The more a product is used, the cost comes down.
Yeah.
In the future, I hope so.
Just one last question, I think, then. Is there any efforts to reduce emissions from material transport from fabrication to site?
There is a lot. I mean, planning, and for me, planning, for us, planning is not drawing nice bars on a P6. Planning is putting together a strategy, the execution plan. Yes, we can reduce the emission in material transportation, settling close to site, the fabrication yard. There is no need. I mean, if properly studied, sometime pre-assembly, if not even sometime even making some module very close to the site is much more cheaper than going to markets where are known to be competitive. So we reduce a lot of CO2 in transporting such material.
I'll pick up on that one as well, actually, if I can, if I've got time. So, again, through our sectors in decarbonisation, shipping is one of our sectors that we're targeting. So we're looking to decarbonise the shipping industry. So that's the industry that this particular activity that we use. So you see, again, the interconnectedness of everything. You know, construction touches a lot of the other sectors. You know, interestingly, we've done a small study recently trying to look at our construction emissions, and even when you take into account the additional emissions from module transportation, modularization and off-site fabrication plus transportation emissions was in the order of 3 to 4 times more emissions efficient, than doing it for the example project that we had chosen for doing it in a stick-build way. Right. So yes, there's extra emissions to add in, but the saving that you get at the site more than outweighs the extra you get in the shipping. So that's the sort of whole picture view you've got to take of every decision. It's not just one thing. You've got to see, well, what does it affect in other places, and then make your choice.
Okay, well, thanks very much, everybody, for your questions. I think they're very useful, and appreciation to David and Luigi. Excellent, thank you.
Yeah, don't go anywhere yet. Thank you so much. Yes, I have a few things that I wanted to go over with you. The first one is our next presentation after the break. I've been told by Stuart Block that he's going to work you, and he's going to work you hard. So you might want to, you know, when you're taking your break, think about the fact you're going to be working very hard when you get back. And he said he's got a project for you. So sounds a little ominous, but I think it's going to be fun and exciting. Secondly, I have the winners of the wine. And I'm going to ask you, when I read your name, to go over to Steve, and you can pick, I believe it's red, white, or rosé. So first one, and I'm thinking, you know, I'm not saying that he was the first one to put his name up because he wants wine more than anybody else, but Robin Mickelson from AWPU, you want to go grab your drink? And I've got to say, looking at this list here, with the exception of one person, everyone's from a different company. So the hard drinkers are apparently randomly assigned between companies. Next, we've got Graham Hutchison from Worley. So Graham, go get your drink. There's a reason to go, because you get to pick first. Then we've got Jacob Bubbalo. You want to go grab yours? And he's from Eastman. And Dario from Fleur, he looks excited. He's got one too. Lee Tedstone, where's Lee? We don't want him to miss out. I know he's still here, so we'll keep him in mind. And then we've got Paul Bicker. Is Paul still here? Oh, Lee, got a bottle of wine waiting for you. All right, and Paul's on his way. Ashish from Worley. Perfect. Yeah, and you notice the clapping is kind of like, they won, I didn't. You don't sound excited for him, I'll say that. And Allison Watson, sorry. Allison Nichols looking very depressed right now. And Mandy Coker from 03. And finally, Nigel Harper. He's got a little bounce in his step. He's excited. Okay, so that's 10 bottles of wine. They wouldn't even let me have one or put my name in, which seemed unfair to me, but you know. The other thing I wanted to say is Steve Mantolo with Group ASI has been doing everything to keep this thing going and working tirelessly behind the scenes. I'd really like you to thank him for his efforts because he's been great. In case you're wondering, we've got the numbers in. There were 220 people at the conference. 80 of you here and 240 off-site doing this virtually. So 140, yes, 140. It's getting late. Memory's going. It's sad. We do have some refreshments out there. We will be starting promptly at 4 o'clock, and our last session of the day is going to be fun. It's going to be hands-on, and I've already started the party, so I've got the sunglasses. So yeah, take a brief break, get back here. We're going to start promptly at 4 o'clock, and we will be done promptly at 5. Thank you.